Hello everybody and welcome to my YouTube channel, Kendall's Nook. I'm so excited for today's video because I'm going to be going through my entire physical TBR. So let me preface. I am a full-time student. I started reading about 3 years ago, but I've had many ups and downs, times where I read a lot, times where I didn't really read at all. And honestly, most of the books that I'm going to show you today, I bought right when I started getting into reading and Bookstagram. And honestly, most of them are over a year or 2 years old and I still haven't gotten to them. Over the past year or so, I really haven't bought that many new books because I knew I still had so many that I bought at the beginning of my reading journey that I haven't gotten to. So a lot of these books are hyped. Everyone's probably read them already. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts in the comments, like, Kendall, you need to read this right now. How have you not read it yet? Or maybe you don't need to read that one, like it had its time. We're going to go by genre. And yeah, I think I'm just going to kind of get into it. Along the way, something that I want to do is update my Fable because I do not use Goodreads. I've never used Goodreads before. So when I recently got back into reading, I was seeing a lot of stuff about Fable and it seemed like a good option. I don't like the look of Goodreads. It seems not as user-friendly, and Fable had a lot of cute graphics, good community, and they have a lot of stats, which I think is fun to track. So, since making my Fable account, I haven't actually gone through and put all of my books on my physical TBR in the to-be-read list that I have on Fable. I have a few books on that list right now that I'm interested in, but I do not have like a full catalog of my whole physical TBR anywhere. So as we're going through all these books today, I'm going to be entering them all into my Fable so that I have an easier way to see all the books that I own that I have to read still. I have my want to read list up, so let's just get started. I have my drinky drink, which is a Olipop cream soda. So feel free to sit down, get comfy, grab your favorite drinky drink or a snack, and look at some books with me. I am going to start with romance. So romance and fantasy are definitely my biggest genres. Those are two of like the 3 or 4 I'll be talking about today. I've read a good amount and have found some authors that I really like, but I still have many authors that I haven't read from, and I have a lot of books from authors I started reading from and I haven't finished yet. So I'm going to start with my current read, which is Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. I just recently read the second book of her Part of Your World series, and the first book, Part of Your World, I read over, I think, a year or 2 years ago. So it's really nice to jump back into this writing. I'm really enjoying this so far, and I've been listening to it on audiobook. So it's my current read, so hopefully it will not be on this list soon. I do not own her most recent book, which is Say You'll Remember Me, but I will definitely be picking that up after this one because I've really enjoyed most of her books. Another very popular author that I've actually never read any books from is, of course, Emily Henry. Everyone knows her, and of course, I've heard all the hype. I've seen everyone talk about all their favorite reads from her, and I've never read any of her books. I only own 2 of them at the moment. First of all is Book Lovers. I know this is one of her older ones, and there's been a lot that have come out since then, but I've still heard people say great things about this one, and I'm excited to get to it. And of course, Happy Place. I got this one when it came out, even though I never read any Emily Henry before, but I'd heard a lot of good reviews about it. Still haven't gotten to it. So, of course, I will be picking these up eventually, and I'm so excited to see what I think of Emily Henry. It's so fun to see how everyone ranks all of her books, and I've heard a lot about all of them, so I'm excited to get to all of them. But I'll probably be starting with these two because I have them already in physical copy. Next is Love and Other Words by Christina Lauren. I picked this book up early on because I just heard a lot of really good things about it. I've heard a couple people say this is like one of their favorite books ever. It seems like super cute, fun, fast-paced romance, and I've had it for a while, so hopefully I'll get to it sometime soon. It seems like a cozy read. There's pictures of, like a cabin and some coffee, so maybe this would be a good fall read once the summer is over. Next, we have another older but very popular romance novel by Lynn Painter called Better Than the Movies. I read her Valentine's Day romance, The Do-Over, about 2 years ago, I think, at this point, and I really enjoyed it. And I picked this one up because I've heard a lot of people talk about this, especially like when I started watching Haley Pham. She talked about this book a lot, and I still haven't read it. I really need to. I do enjoy YA romance a lot, so I think that I'll like this one and it'll be fun, and I'm still gonna keep it. Next, I'm sure you guys all know and are not surprised that I have these books because I've heard so many people talk about them, but of course is the Magnolia Park series. I think I was most inspired by Sarah, bestie Sarah Caroli on YouTube, to get these, but I've heard many YouTubers talk about these, like Rachel and of course Sarah, and I think I'm actually going to pick these up very soon, or at least just the first one, because I am a part of Sarah's book club, and this is the pick for July. So I'm actually really excited. I think it'll finally give me the push to start this series, and I've just heard that it gets better as it goes on. So I have all the ones that have come out since. I don't know why this one, when I got it, is so much bigger than the versions I got before that. I do have all the older covers, which I'm grateful for because I like them, and I think they look cooler and have more detail than the newer ones. But I've also been seeing a lot of really good reviews on Jessa Hastings' new book, The Conditions of Will, and I really want to read that one because it's a standalone, so it feels less intimidating than the Magnolia Park series. But I've also been told to maybe jump into Magnolia Parks first, so I can kind of get a taste of her writing, and then I can appreciate The Conditions of Will more once I kind of know how her writing is. So hopefully I'll get to these soon, and then I can read The Conditions of Will as well. I just realized as I've been talking, I haven't actually been updating my Fable at all. I totally forgot about that part. So I'm going to quick put all these books into my Fable. Another author I've heard great things about is Ashley Poston. I actually have read The Dead Romantics, which I really enjoyed. I read that the fall of 2023, so it's been about a year and a half. And I really enjoyed that book. I've heard that a novel love story has some mixed reviews, but I'm definitely still going to pick it up because the concept is interesting and I really liked her writing in the first book. And I've heard lots of great things about the 7-Year Slip, so I'm excited to read this one as well. I'm hoping to get to 7-Year Slip sometime soon, since that's the second book from her after The Dead Romantics. I don't think they're connected at all, but I'm going to read this one first probably, and then I'll read Novel Love Story. And I know she's coming out with a new release soon, so maybe I'll pick that up after I've read these two. Another author that I've only read one book of, but that I've loved so far, is Annabelle Monaghan. She started getting popular, I feel like, more recently, but I read Summer Romance, and I gave that book 5 stars. I finished it last October, and it made me cry at the end, and I just really liked how it was more than a romance. Like, it was really cute, but it also had, elements of relationships in terms of, mother-daughter and women's fiction almost vibes along with the romance, and I've heard that about her other books too, so I'm excited to read both of these. Nora Goes Off Script and Same Time Next Summer, and I'm hoping to get to at least one of these before the summer ends. Next is a book that I've actually had for a really long time, and it's called Before We Were Strangers by Renee Carlino, and I picked this up also very early on because I don't even remember whose YouTube video it was, but I just remember that I saw someone who read this in one sitting and said that it was just such a fun book to binge. It's pretty short. I mean, it's 308 pages. So I read about a page a minute. So what is that? 4.5 hours-ish, 5 hours it would take me to finish this book. So maybe if I have a free weekend, I'll just spend the whole weekend reading this book. And I've thought about donating it, but every time I go to think, oh, maybe I should get rid of this book because I've had it for so long, I'm still like, but I want to read it. So I am keeping this book, and I hope that I get to read it soon. This is another author that I've heard a lot about recently, and that is Cara Bastone. I have heard a lot about this book, and what I learned about it at first was that it was an accidental pregnancy trope, and it's not spoiling anything, like it's the first thing that I see on the back, and I've heard people say that about it. But I've just heard like really good reviews of this book, and I actually do like kids in books, and I'm interested to read with the accidental pregnancy trope because I've only really read like one or two books with that, I think, and I've just heard really great things about this. I know she has another book recently released, so if I enjoy this one, then I'll definitely be picking up her other books. And is this cover just not like the cutest thing? It's so cute, very springy. So I'm hoping to get to this at some point. All right, and one more is Lauren Asher. I've actually never read any of her books. I know she has more than just this one series, but I picked this one up because it intrigued me, and I've had this one for a while as well. It is a little bit of a chunkier book, so that does intimidate me a little bit, but I've heard really good things about her books and like her something billionaires. I don't remember, but the other series that she wrote before this one, I've heard good things about that. And I've heard like mixed reviews about the rest of the series. So I'm intrigued to read this. And once I read this one, then I'll probably reevaluate if I want to read the rest or if I want to pick up her other series. I have read the Lucy Score books, Things We Never Got Over. There was 3 books in that series, and those were very chunky romance books, like bigger than this one, I think. And I did enjoy them. I think they were all a good read. They were long, but I don't regret reading them, so I don't think that this one will be a bad read at all, and I'm just intrigued to see how I feel about it. A couple of these last books that I have in the romance category are what I would think of as like mom books. Of course, not that you need to be a mom to read these books, but I feel like I could just see it. I see a lot of women reading these books like on vacation or whatever. And the first author is Jodi Picoult. I know she has like tons of books, but I have a friend who's read some of her books before and recommended both of these to me. So I have 19 Minutes and I have The Pact. And I really don't know a lot about both of these rather than just what I've read about on the back. I've just heard that her books are, it's kind of a mix of like romance and just general fiction, and I'm excited to get to these and kind of see what I think of her writing. I know, like I said, she has a bunch of books, so I can pick up some more. These are also books that are easy to find at like Half Price Books or the thrift store even. So I'm excited to see what I think of her writing, and yeah, I'm just really interested to see what is up with these books. And then the other author is Ellen Hillibrand. Oh my gosh. And the other author is Ellen Hilderbrand, and I've heard a lot of good things about this author too. I know Bessie Sarah has talked about her and met her even, and I have the one, The Perfect Couple. When I went to Half Price Books, I knew I wanted a book from her, but I didn't know which one, so I was reading the synopses. I was reading all of the back of the books. And this one sounded interesting because it has the sort of like mystery of this murder that happens at the wedding that takes place in this book. That just sounded really interesting. And actually, now that I'm thinking about it, don't know if this is like a romance and a mystery or romance fiction, but I just put it in this category anyway. So I'm excited to see how I feel about her writing. I know she has a lot, like I said, so I can also pick up more if I enjoy it. Lastly, I have to mention the Heartstopper series. These are graphic novels, and I have watched the whole series so far on Netflix that is out. I read the first graphic novel, but I have not read the rest of them, and I love these characters so much. I love Nick and Charlie and all of their friends and family, and it's so interesting to see all the different topics that are talked about in this series, and I would highly recommend the show if you haven't seen it. But of course, I'm like, well, I have to read the graphic novels if I enjoy the show so much. So I did read the first one, and I still have to get to the rest of them, but I'm sure these will be great. The illustrations are super cute, and I'm just so excited to see their stories that I've watched on TV in these graphic novels. I forgot to add all those books again, so I'm gonna go add all those books that I just talked about. Okay, with that, we are done with the romance category. Next is fiction, one nonfiction, short stories, kind of everything that isn't like some sort of fantasy. And I'm gonna start with Mr. John Green. My boyfriend has read all of these books in this one, and he really enjoyed these books. I've also, of course, heard other people talk about how they enjoy his books, and I've heard about all these. I've never even seen The Fault in Our Stars, let alone read about it. I hope to get to these at some point. I didn't actually buy any of these. He already had all of these, so I don't feel like, oh my gosh, I bought this so long ago, I need to get to them soon. So they're not on my immediate TBR by any means, but I am excited to read these eventually and then talk to him and others about what I feel about them. But I've heard good things about his books, and I am looking forward to reading all of these when I get the chance. And I'm going to add these right away so I don't forget. Next is another author that I'm really excited to get to, and that is Frederick Bachman. I've heard so many things recently about his Beartown series, and I've just heard so many good things about him as an author and how his books just describe emotions so well. And I picked up Anxious People recently at Half Price Books because this was the book that was there, and I just wanted to pick up a book of his. I would like to get to all of his books at some point, but this will be my first one by him. I'm excited to see what I think of his writing, kind of excited to see what all the hype is about, and I'm not going to have too high of expectations, of course, but I have been enjoying more fiction rather than just romance and fantasy recently, so I'm hoping to get to this sometime soon and see what I think of his writing. Next is my other current read, which is The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna. I have just heard so many good things about Kristen Hanna and how strong her female characters are, how emotional her books are, and guys, I'm like less than 200 pages away from the end of this book, and everything I've heard is true so far. I'm really enjoying this. I have not read a historical fiction since probably when I had to for like high school, and I didn't know if I would like it because I didn't really like reading those types of books in school, but I'm really enjoying this, and it's just so incredible to kind of see these historical events through her writing and these stories. I'm really enjoying this, and because I'm enjoying this so much, and I'm sure I will until the end, I'm definitely going to pick up more of her books in the future, but I decided to still put this in the video because I have not finished it quite yet. Two other books that are a little bit, I would say, outside of my comfort zone that I haven't read yet are recommended by my friend. And the first one is Oblivion by David Foster Wallace. This is actually a collection of short stories. This isn't just one story in this book. And I honestly do not know like anything about each story. I've never read from this author before, but my friend really liked it and recommended it to me and thought I would enjoy it. So this is definitely something that I'm hoping to get to, or maybe I can read it over a longer period of time because it is just a bunch of short stories, and I'm excited to see what I think of this sort of concept in writing. And the other book that my friend recommended to me is The Year of Magical Thinking by Joan Didion. I also don't really know anything about this book. This is just a single story, but it's quite a short read, a fictional read. I'm just really interested to see what I think of this one too. And like I said, both of these books are kind of outside my comfort zone. They're not like your typical, oh, contemporary romance or romantasy, whatever. But I have tended to like some of these more real life stories, and I'm excited to see what I think of this one. Okay, and last but not least, my last like pure fiction on this list is A Little Life. This book is like so interesting to me because every time I see anyone talk about it, they're like, "This is one of the best books I ever read, but don't read it." And I'm like, "What?" Because I just know that this book is filled with trauma and heartbreak and like all the trigger warnings that you could ever think of. I know how people are like, why would you want to read that if you know it's just going to be like sad? But I've just seen how so many people have talked about this book, and I have to read it at some point, and I'm going to read it at some point. When? I don't know, but I definitely will pick it up. And off topic, but guys, this version that I got is like so gloriously floppy, so that also kind of motivates me. Yeah, I'm excited to get to this whenever I do, and I guess pray for me when I read it because I don't know, we'll see what happens. Lastly, this is a fiction, but it's a Christian fiction, and it's The Great Divorce by C.S. Lewis. I've never read any of his Christian fiction books before, and I've only heard good things. I actually bought this one with my boyfriend, and hopefully we can buddy read it together. But this is just the first one I picked up. If I like it, I'm sure I'll pick up more. It's a very short read, so I'm excited to see what I think of this book. That is it for fiction, general fiction, and now we're going to start branching into dark. We're just gonna say like dark blank. Like I think there's some dark academia, some kind of dark romance, thriller, sci-fi-ish, because most of the other books I have after these are like cozy fantasy, just romantasy, normal fantasy. So these ones are kind of like a little bit outside of that, but still like fantasy. Yeah, you'll see. First, we have A Deadly Education by Naomi Novik. I haven't heard like a ton about this book, but the times that I have heard people talk about it, they said they really enjoyed it, and I've heard that this whole series is very good. This is like quite a short book. It's actually only like just over 300 pages. I really like the like academia setting. Like I loved Harry Potter, obviously, and I just really like reading when it's kind of like school setting. So I'm really interested to get to this, and I think I'll probably read it maybe this fall because it is more of like a fall feeling book, but it's short. I want to pick it up sometime soon, and I've had it for a while, so hoping to read this. Next, I have two books by Leigh Bardugo, which is Ninth House and Hellbent, and I don't actually know a lot about these two either, except that they're kind of dark academia, I think. Sorry if that's wrong, but I'm pretty sure. I've never read anything by Leigh Bardugo, but I'm really interested in these books, and I've heard good things about them, and I can't really say much more because I don't really know much more, but maybe it's kind of good that I'm going in sort of blind, and I've had these for a really long time. I got this one as like one of my first book of the month subscriptions, and that was a really long time ago, so I've had these for a while, but I'm excited to get to them whenever that is. Next, we have Vicious by V.E. Schwab. I think this is like a, what's it called? Magical realism sort of thing, thriller. All I really know is that like people get superpowers when they have a near-death experience. And that sounds really interesting to me. I've heard fantastic things about V.E. Schwab. I've never heard anything bad really about her writing. So I'm very excited to get to this book, and if I like it, of course I'm going to buy the rest, but I'm not going to buy the whole series before I read the first one because I already have so many other books I need to get to. But I'm excited for when I get to this, and I've just heard so many good things. So on the topic of V.E. Schwab, I have The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. You might be like, Kendall, you already have tabs in that book. Haven't you read it already? Well, funny story. I started this book like over a year ago and was reading it over my college winter break last year. And then when school started again, I just totally didn't finish it, like got so busy, didn't read it all that semester. But then I didn't really want to pick it back up because I like didn't remember anything about it. So then earlier this semester, or this winter break, I don't remember, sometime earlier this year, I picked it up again and I was like, okay, I'm gonna start over and I'm gonna keep reading this book. And I got to page 35 and put it down again. I'm just waiting for like the right time to read this book. I've like read it and then reread it a little bit that I'm like still I can still remember the story and the point that I got to in the story, and I want to see how it ends because everyone talks about the ending of this book and how it starts slow but then like the ending is fast, and I'm literally like at the halfway point to where I got the first time. So like I want to keep reading, but I just need to find like the time where I'm really into it because her writing in this book is very lyrical, very beautiful. I was heavily annotating this book because of the writing, and I really like how I kind of made the tabs all messy and I have so many of them, and I literally still have a pencil case with all this stuff in it ready to go for when I pick this book back up. So this is a soft DNF right now, still in my physical TBR, and hoping to get to it before the year is over. Next, I have A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson, and I've heard some things about this book. This is like an OG book talk book. I've never read it. This is another book that I want to buddy read with my boyfriend because I've never like been super into thrillers, never read a thriller, and I don't know if you call this a thriller, mystery, or whatever. I just know it's like YA mystery. I've heard good things about it. I only have the first book, so depending on if I like this or not, I will get to the second and the third one. And I've honestly heard that those sometimes are better than this one. I've heard good things about the main character, Pip, and that people really liked her. So I'm excited to read this book. Don't know when I'll get to it. I'll have to see like when I'm in the mood for it, but I do have this whenever I'm feeling like mystery because I don't have really any mystery books on my TBR except this one. Okay, and then another book that I have on my TBR is Bride by Ellie Hazelwood. Paranormal romance, I think, is what this genre is. But I've heard like mixed reviews about this book, and I've actually never read a Ellie Hazelwood book. Like I've never read any of her adult or young adult contemporary romances. This might be like an interesting pick for my first Ellie Hazelwood book, but I do want to get to this. And because this is like the only book that I've had on my Fable want to read before I'm updating it right now, I've seen like a lot of people's reviews on this just on my homepage, and I'm really excited to see what I think about it. I've never read any sort of paranormal romance before, so I'm excited to see what this is. And like all I know is that there's obviously like werewolf situation going on, and I've heard about nodding, but I have no idea what that means, and it might be so silly that I'm saying that right now for people who have read this book. But yeah, this will be my first Ellie Hazelwood book whenever I end up getting to it. Lastly, we have two sci-fi books. I have Skyward by Brandon Sanderson. This is a YA sci-fi book, and I picked it up because I've never read any Brandon Sanderson before. I've obviously heard a lot about his Cosmere universe, and I've heard a lot about like the Mistborn series and stuff, but that's very like intimidating to me, and I felt like this might be a good start to see if I enjoy his writing. It's YA, so hopefully it'll be a little less heavy on the world building and easier to just kind of pick up and read. There are quite a bit of books, I think, in the series, including the novellas. So, again, I only have the first one, but if I like it, I'll definitely be picking up the rest. And I haven't really read any sci fi books, so I'm interested to see what I think of Brandon Sanderson and what I think of this genre. Lastly, I have Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. This is another sci fi book. I have watched The Martian, which is a different story by Andy Weir, but I've never heard anything about Hail Mary in particular, except that it's a great book. I've heard that it's really good on audio, and I am an audiobook girly. I usually have two books going at once. I have an audiobook and I have a physical book. A lot of times I try to pick the books that are on my physical TBR as my audiobook so that I can like knock them off my TBR. And I think this might have to be one of my next audiobooks because I just heard so many people say like you need to read this and you need to do it as an audiobook. My boyfriend is 4.5 hours away for the summer. Late summer, I'm planning on visiting him, so I'll be driving at least like 9 hours for that trip there and back. So this might be a good book to keep my attention and listen to on that whole drive. So hopefully I'll get to this soon. I've heard great things about it. I've heard whoever you are, you're gonna like it. The last category, probably the biggest one, is fantasy. So I'm gonna try and kind of subcategorize this, but I've never read any of these books, so if I accidentally categorize something as something it's not, please let me know. Don't take it too seriously. I will try my best. I'm gonna start with like what I've heard is like cozy fantasy. So first I have Half a Soul by Olivia Atwater. This is a more recent addition to my physical TBR. I love watching Katie's reading on YouTube, and I've heard her say really good things about this book. And I think there's a second one too in this series. And I know it's cozy fantasy. I know that she's kind of like different than others, and I'm really interested to just kind of see the characters in this book. And I've just heard a couple people say really good things about it and that they love this book, so that's going to make me want to read a book no matter what. Next is Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies and Emily Wilde's Map of the Otherlands. I do have both of these books, even though I haven't read the first one yet. But first of all, these books are just absolutely beautiful. Like, I just love the covers. They have like the deckled edges, which I think is fun, and they're so just like pretty together. I can't wait to get to these. I've heard that they're just like fun, definitely cozy fantasies. I know there's a little bit of romance, but I'm just kind of excited to see like what these are all about. And Katie's reading has also talked about these and many others. So I know there's a third one out, and if I see the third one at Barnes & Noble, because these are the Barnes & Noble special editions, I might have to get it, even if I haven't read these yet, because it would be so cute to have the matching set of all three of these books in this fun edition. So can't wait to start these. Definitely like a cozy fall winter read, so hopefully I'll get to them this season. All right, next is a series that I have all the books of, but have not read yet, which is Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. I did read all of the Carval series, and I read her little Christmas novella based on that series, and I love them. I think her writing is so fun. It's so like whimsical, fantastical, and I really liked how she wrote the YA books that she has. I picked these up because I've heard that they're just as good or even better than Carval. I can't wait to like see how these connect to that story and just like everything I've heard about them. I don't know. I've just heard like no complaints. I know a lot of people really like the second one the most, so we'll see what I think. But I think once I'm in like the mood for what I know Stephanie Garber's writing is going to bring, that like whimsical, fantastical vibe, I'm definitely picking these up, and hopefully sometime soon, because I think these are some of the oldest books on my TBR because this series has been popular for so long, and I can't wait to get to these. Next, I have a few books that I know are like high fantasy, but otherwise just kind of like books with a lot of world building that I know of. I have a couple books by Patrick Rothfuss, January of 2024. I read Name of the Wind, which was a like high fantasy adventure book, and I really liked it. That book is like packed with stuff. and it was like my first high fantasy I'd ever read. And I have The Wise Man's Fear because I would love to read this whenever I can get to it. It's like one of those small like paperbacks. The words are very small. So, if I'm picking this up, I know what I'm getting into. I'll definitely have to watch like a recap of what happened in The Name of the Wind because I definitely don't remember all the details. But I read that book with my friend who recommended it while he reread it. So it'll be fun to read this and then talk to him about that as well. And that's kind of what is motivating me to read this eventually. But I've also heard that this series is yet to be completed, and I don't know when it will be completed, and neither does anyone else. So I'm gonna read this, but like knowing that maybe we won't ever get an end to this series. Who knows? And then with that book and that series, I have two of the novellas that have been written alongside it. First, we have The Slow Regard of Silent Things, and then this one, the more recent one that came out, is The Narrow Road Between Desires. And I'm pretty sure I can technically read both of these now since I've read the first book, and it won't spoil the second book, because this one's about a character that we learned about in the first book. And this one I'm actually not exactly sure, but I can just ask my friend who's read all of these. But I'm excited to get to these. I'm excited to kind of dive back into this world eventually when I feel like it. Next, I have this chunky book, When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker. This book, first of all, love the cover. Love how just like fantastical this feels. And pretty floppy, pretty good for a book this size. And I'm just like really, really intrigued by this book. I've heard people say that they loved this book. I can't wait to see like what the world building's gonna be like. I know there's like a glossary in the front of this book, I think. Yes, of like all of the things you need to know, which is like kind of intimidating, but also at the same time like exciting and like so cool to know that like this world is so big that I'm just gonna like, I don't know. I'm just so excited. I think this is gonna be a really exciting read. Maybe I'll read this like in the cozy of winter or something, but I am really excited to get to this whenever I do, and I've heard really great things, and I know that there's going to be more books in this series, so I can't wait for this one. Next is a book that I actually got recently, and this is Heavenly Bodies by Amani Aru. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. I have just heard this book kind of raved about whenever I've seen someone read it. In particular, it was Emmy Rossum. If you've watched her on YouTube or seen her on Bookstore and Book Talk, I love her videos recently. I've been like kind of obsessed. She read this book in one of her readathons as a Fairy Loot edition, and I was like, wow, that book looks beautiful, sounds cool. It's like celestial fantasy, which I've never read something like that, and I'm just like so intrigued by this book. As you've probably noticed in this video, if I hear someone saying good things about it, if the concept sounds interesting, I'm gonna get it. I'm intrigued. Next we have the TikTok sensation, Fourth Wing, of course. You guys are probably like, what, you haven't read Fourth Wing yet? I read up to page, wow, I stopped in the middle of a chapter. Page 119. I started this book like during the school year, which unfortunately is just how it is. It's so hard for me to really get like invested in a book during the school year because of how busy I am. I was just reading this and I was like, it's cool, it's fun, I'm really liking it, but I just wanted to read it when I could binge it. I wanted to read it when I could actually just like fully immerse myself in this book. So I stopped it. Softy enough, I am going to get to this book eventually. And then I also have Iron Flame. I've heard, of course, so many mixed reviews on this book. I'm still going to read it because, I don't know, I want to see what I think. I try not to let opinions of others deter me. Like, yes, I love when someone tells me they love a book, I'm going to read it. But also, like, sometimes I'm like, I want to see for myself what I think of this book. So I have this one. I've not picked up Onyx Storm because I'm like, maybe that's going overboard since I haven't read any of them yet. But we will see how I feel about these. I hope that I love both of them. You may notice that a lot of the fantasy series that I'm talking about are very popular series, and that's because a lot of them I bought at the beginning of my journey when I was just seeing all of the popular books, and I was like, well, I have to get them. I haven't gotten to them yet. So for any of these series that are like, girl, that series has been out for so long, it's been popular for so long, why haven't you read it yet? Please tell me that I need to read it ASAP. Next we have Powerless by Lauren Roberts and Powerful, which is the novella. I do not have Reckless. I do not have Fearless. I've been able to like hold back. I generally try not to buy all the books in a series before I've started it, because I think part of the fun is like when you finish the book is to go get the next. Okay, I'm sorry for the audio change. My microphone stopped working. I'm sorry if there's background noise, but we were almost done, so I'm just gonna finish the video without the mic. So, I think what I was in the middle of saying is that it's fun to me when I have a series, but I don't own all the books yet. So if I'm in the middle of reading the series, part of the adventure is to go out to the bookstore and buy the next one. So that is why I only have the first 2 of this series. They're ready when I'm ready to pick them up, and it's fun to know that this is completed, and I can go and get the rest of these books when I am in the mood for this. So I've heard the hype, and I'm excited to read these. Another very popular book talk series that I've heard about is The Serpent and Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. I know she's wrote this one. She's also written the Daughter of No Worlds series, which I'm interested in. But I've heard that this is another romantasy, trials, all the tropes that people tend to enjoy. Again, don't have all the books yet. I have the novella, the first and the second one. I think there's a third book for sure that's out. I don't know how many are actually going to be in this series. This might be a series that I pick up later on once all the books are out. We'll see, but I picked it up because I was interested, and seeing the reminder that I have it on my TBR gets me excited for it. So I have The Serpent and the Wings of Night. Now I'm going to talk about 2 duologies that I've heard a lot of really good things about. First we have Dance of Thieves and Vow of Thieves. I'm pretty sure these are 2 YA romantasy. I've just heard really great things about these books. I don't even remember who it was, but I just remember I saw one time on Instagram or YouTube, someone was like, you have to read these. And they've been on my mental TBR for so long. Every time I go to the store, I'm looking at these, eyeing them up. And it wasn't until a few months ago I finally just bought them. So I like that there's 2 books. Once I read them, that's the end of the series. And I am ready to pick these up whenever I just am in the mood. So the covers, beautiful. The reviews that I've heard, beautiful. I'm excited to read these. The other duology that I've heard a lot of great things about is One Dark Window and Two Twisted Crowns by Rachel Gillig. I've heard so many good things about these books. I think it's a little bit of a darker fantasy, which I'm excited to read. I even have bookmarks in both of these books with tabs on them ready to go, because there was a point in time where I was almost gonna read these. They're just waiting for me. I know I'm gonna love them. Again, I love that it's a duology. There's only 2 books. And I've heard that Rachel Gillig just released a new book of a new series, I think. So if I really like these, it's exciting to know that this author has another series that is coming out. So I'm looking to get to these soon. Okay, last but not least, I'm sure you guys will all figure out who this author is by now, because she's the only fantasy author that is super popular that I haven't mentioned yet, and that is Sarah J. Maas. So, I have Avatar. Okay, I've read the first book. I've actually read the first book twice, but I have not read the rest of the series yet. The first time I read the first book was 2 years ago, and I was like, wow, that was pretty good, but I didn't get the hype yet. And then when I reread it, I was like, yeah, this is good, but I need to read the rest of the books, because I've just heard about how they get better and better, and people love the second and third book, and just all of them. So, they're here. They're ready to go. And I don't remember if I said this already with my microphone on or not, but I realized that this book series, I think, is one of the only book series I'm in the middle of right now. So this will definitely be literally one of the next books that I pick up. You guys will definitely be in for an ACOTAR reading vlog. So buckle your seatbelts, because I'm going to be filming when I read these. Honestly, this is one of the only series I'm in the middle of. Besides the other high fantasy I mentioned earlier, which was Name of the Wind, this is the only other series I'm in the middle of. The other one is a little intimidating, so I'm excited to get to this one. Obviously, I've heard the hype. I can't wait. And then, how can I mention ACOTAR and not have Throne of Glass? I will say, I got this box set for Christmas, so I didn't just go out and spend $100 on all these books when I haven't even read ACOTAR yet. But I was like, you know what, I'm gonna ask for them for Christmas, and I got them. I've actually been wanting to read these books for so long that I have a copy of Throne of Glass with the old cover, because that's before these were even released. They're here. They're ready. I've heard all the things about the series. I know that this one's gonna break me. I have to figure out where I'm gonna read Assassin's Blade, but I'm just so excited. I've never heard anyone say anything bad about this series. So I can't wait. I have all the books. I'm ready. After ACOTAR, I'll be reading this. And then, of course, following Throne of Glass is the Crescent City series. I have the first 2 books in this series, and these are very pretty Barnes & Noble editions. I do not have the 3rd book. If I see the Barnes & Noble edition of the 3rd book like this, I might have to pick it up. But I've heard great things about these. I know that they're like an urban fantasy, which I'm really excited about because I haven't really read a lot of urban fantasy. I was like a dystopian girly when I was younger, so I think this will kind of give those vibes. I've heard great things about the first one. Second one, some people loved it. I think some people had mixed reviews, and same with the third one, but I'm still gonna read them just to see what I think. I'm so excited to just jump into this universe that Sarah J. Maas has written and share it with everyone who's already read it. Okay, we did it, guys. That was all of the books on my physical TBR. And on Fable, it says I have 67 books on my want to read list. I feel like it's not too bad. Not too bad. With that, I want to thank you guys so much if you watched all the way to the end of this video. I appreciate it. I know this was a lot of books. This was a lot of yapping, but I'm really excited to get to all these books. Filming this video and just like being in bookstores, being on the Bookstagram, Booktube community gets me so excited to read, and having all these books makes me like so excited. I just have to like, it encourages me to read more day to day and really incorporate it as a daily habit. So I hope that I will be getting to these soon, getting the reviews out, getting the vlogs out. If you want to follow along on my journey, my Fable link is in the description. I update my Fable all the time. My want to read list is now updated, and I also have my finished books on there. I always write pretty lengthy reviews on the books that I finish, and I post updates during my reading of the books. And I also have a Bookstagram, Kendall's Nook, and if you want to check that out, I post reels and more reviews and just updates and fun posts throughout my reading journey. So thank you guys again so much for watching. I apologize for the microphone issue near the end of the video, but hopefully it's not too bad. Let me know which of these books I need to get to. I will listen and I'll read it. I'm so excited. So thank you guys so much, and I will see you guys in my next YouTube video. Bye!